Hey everybody. Before we hop into today's podcast episode, I just wanted to record a short little bit here. Just letting you guys know that in order to get this podcast episode out, in enough time before the expansion dropped, I was not able to do a full editing run through like I normally do, in addition to all the audio editing that I normally do. And so I do apologize that there are no cards and everything like that. You guys are kind of just getting the regular audio podcast experience this week, and I really do apologize for that. But again, we wanted to get this out as fast as possible before the expansion dropped. So I hope you guys still enjoy today's podcast, and we'll be back again next week with the full experience. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the State of Wild episode 89, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thing. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by two good friends and co-hosts, Roffle and Corbett. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing all right. If I look and sound like I just woke up, it's because I just woke up. We're recording a little bit earlier than usual because we've all been very busy this weekend with new cards and theory crafting. So
Yeah, and for me, it's the exact opposite. It is very, very late here. I'm recording at like very ridiculous hat hours where he typically records podcasts, I think at like 3 a.m. So not quite that bad, but, excited to jump into everything that we've, gone and explored so far in the Voyage to the Sunken City and jump into everything, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun episode. We're going to try to keep things a little bit short, not only for the listeners, but also for Corbett, because, God, we don't want you staying up until 4 a.m. again and crashing and waking up to the smell of Red Bull and coffee in the morning. It doesn't sound super
messy.
Fun.
Yeah.
But like the guys have talked about, we've had a lot happen in the past week. So we had reversions get announced and released last week. And so we're going to be talking about the reversions that are live right now and how they're impacting the WoW format. And then we got the rest of the cards revealed. So we're going to be talking about our highlights from that and then kind of just melding those with our experiences in the theory crafting stream and kind of what we're excited for and hype about related to new cards from the new set. And we're not going to be doing a whole like card by card review because then we will be sitting here for 3 hours and I don't think we want to do that. So yeah, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. So let's talk about the reversions, the stuff that's live right now. So I'm going to run through all of the cards and then we'll just kind of come back and touch on some of the highlights, the ones that are impactful for the WoW format. So first of all, Apotheosis got reverted to a 3-mana 2/3 buff with Lifesteal. Imprisoned Scrap Imp is back to a 2-mana 3/3 dormant for 2 turns. When it awakens, buff your hand +3/+3. Blackjack Stunner is back to making the card that you bounced +2 mana instead of 1. Scavengers Ingenuity back to buffing +3/+3 instead of +2/+2. Chaotha Sunstrider. What a big one here, going all the way back to OG Chaothas. It's a 6-mana 4/7. Every third spell you cast costs 0. We'll be talking about this one. Don't worry.
Easy.
Yeah, we got Corsair Cash back to a 2-mana draw a weapon, give it +1/+1. Crybreiter back to its OG form, 2-mana 1/4 with Rush and Wind Fury. Moarg Artificer and Il'gynoth. Both of these cards core to that Lifesteal Demon Hunter. In Standard, both are getting reverted. Moarg Artificer to a 2/4 and Il'gynoth back to a 4-mana 2/6. Deck of Lunacy back to 2 mana. Bogspine Knuckles back to 4 attack. Dreadlord's Bite back to 3 attacks. This is the Demon Hunter 3-drop weapon. Speaking of Demon Hunter, Shard Shatter Mystic reverted from 4 mana to 3. This is the Soul Fragment Dustbreaker. Solarian Prime, the card generated by Astromancer Solarian, back from 9 mana to 7. Guardian Animals back from 8 mana to 7. Bloodboil Brute up to 6/8 from a 5/8. Imprisoned in Tan, I believe was 6 mana, is back to 5. This is the dormant minion for Demon Hunter that Pyroblast when it awakens. Jandis Baroff back from 6 to 5. Pretty excited about that one. High Abbess Allura, so this is the Spellburst Paladin Priest dual class legendary back to 4 mana. Lord Keeper Polkelt back to 4 mana. Evocation back to 1. Priestess of Fury back to a 7/6, I believe, from a 7/5. Kane Sub Fury.
6/5.
6/5, sorry.
And 6/7, yeah.
Yeah, she's back to a 6/7. Man, you go through all these cards, you're bound to miss something because she was completely useless when she got nerfed. And then Kane's Sun Fury back to a 4-mana 3/5 from, I believe, a 4-mana 3/4 with Charge, Ignore All Taunts, and Cabal Acolyte back. This is the Priest Spellburst Steal a minion back to a 4-mana 2/6 with Taunts. All right, so we hit a whole bunch of reversions. There are also a couple of notable exclusions as well, and we can maybe dive into that a little bit towards the end here. But let's go ahead and start back up the top. Scavengers Ingenuity, something that we kind of expected for a while. How happy are we to see this back as a 2-mana +3/+3 draw beast?
Oh, I mean, pretty happy. I just don't know, like, I think it just makes it kind of back on par with how it was when it got nerfed, because like it was a strong card before it got nerfed, and then it got nerfed, but like I don't know that it's that strong of a card right now, just standalone compared to some of the other things that other classes are capable of doing. So yeah, it's a better card, and I'm happy to see it unnerfed. I like its targeted card draw, so there's always potential for it. And I think there's already like good room for it in a deck that's like Reno Hunter that's only running a handful of beasts anyway, and especially like a Reno Secret Hunter. You can probably, find your Dread Scale, find your Blood Stinger, or whatever specific cards you need for a situation a little bit easier with something like this. But overall, I don't know that it's going to see that much play just because it got unnerfed, even though it's a higher quality card.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just lost maybe back in Even Hunter, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. All right, let's talk about the big one, the one that everybody's reacting to all over Twitter and Reddit. Let's talk about Chaotha Sunstrider. Back to its OG form, back to potential turn 1, turn 2 OTKs with Barnes cheating out Chaothas. It also is, it seems like it's just a very solid card in regular Druid decks, because getting to play stuff like Ultimate Infestation for 0 mana seems pretty powerful. So, first of all, were you guys as surprised as I was to see this card fully reverted back to its OG form?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I didn't think that there was any chance this card was going back even to its first nerf, but
Yeah, this was I think like Lucia was probably the one that I felt was the least likely, but this was probably like in contention for number 2. Like I really didn't think this was gonna happen, and there's been some pretty visceral reaction, obviously, right? Like because this type of gameplay is particularly frustrating for a lot of players, right? Like it's very, very high rolly. It's regularly OTKing as early as turn 4, turn 5 with the Barnes version of the deck. And I think that right now the performance of the deck isn't that amazing, but we've had similar situations, right, where like decks haven't been absolutely top tier with something like Steel or Warlock, but the play pattern has been really unfun for a lot of people. So again, like I said, very surprised they did this, and I'm not really that pleased about it either.
Yeah, I know they have said publicly, like, the whole point of their reversions is to revert cards that they think are going to be fun and make Wild a better place. And so, I mean, obviously there is a set of people out there that do enjoy the Chaothas play pattern, but it, like you said, it is very surprising to me that they kind of, after all of the decks that they have nerfed in the past, giving us back Chaothas was very surprising. So I guess...
Yeah, I mean, Corb mentioned Stealer Warlock. It kind of gives me... I played it, obviously, on the first day that it got unnerfed, but it kind of gives me, like, almost Darkest Hour vibes, where it doesn't feel like it has a matchup spread. It does it do its thing, or does it not? And if it does its thing, it wins very early before the opponent can really set up any counterplay. If it doesn't, you just sit there like looking for your minions, yelling into a microphone if you're me, about where is Kael'thas and Barnes. And so yeah, it's much more reliable now than when the deck first came out as well, and potentially it will get more reliable after the expansion too, because there are a few pieces that might slot into it. So I don't think it's a good deck. I think once the novelty falls off, people will play it a lot less because it's not a good deck. But like, there's some future concerns, as well as the fact that like it's just not a fun play pattern for anyone really. Like in my opinion, it's a miserable deck to play, not because of the APM requirements, but because like if you don't draw well, you just watch your opponent play the game, and then if you do draw well, they just watch you play the game. Like it's kind of silly.
Yeah, it is, the epitome of the whole solitaire like thing that, has been memed about and, exhaustively talked about. The thing that is interesting, I think, with the Chaothas is that, well, the Barnes version, right? The Barnes thing is what everyone's doing, complaining about. Chaothas, like Meowth was saying, is just like a very, very good piece potentially in like future Druid decks, and I think like that might. That's probably a little bit more acceptable to me. Like if Chaothas is cheating out bonkers about a mana, but it's not going infinite, chewing through the whole deck, or it's happening, on turn 7, 8, that's a little bit more like in line with what I'm happy with in Wild or can accept in Wild. I just don't ever want to, like, I died after my second turn in a game against Barnes where they just they just popped up on 3 and I was just like, oh, that was miserable. So yeah.
I want to leave you guys with one question here because I mean I think our stances on Chaotha are pretty clear. In my memory, they've never reverted a reversion before. Do you think that Chaotha might be that first one? Because they might think it's okay. The deck itself might not be good, but the reaction that it's receiving, right, all over the place. Do you think it might prompt them to do anything about Chaotha?
No, I don't think so. I think that people are going to move on to the new cards and quickly forget about Chaotha. It might be something that comes back up later if like the new cards do actually add enough to the Chaotha Druid, but I think people are going to stop playing it on Tuesday and at least for a bit after, and then a lot of that same anger will be pointed at some card from the new set, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, not many wild cards ever get nerfed, so like just the probability that Chaothas is one of them, it seems very, very low, right? Like you have to hit a very special threshold to actually get hit in wild.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're stuck with Chaotha for at least the foreseeable future. So sorry for those of you guys that are on the receiving end of the combo, and just know that it's not happening super often. You just got unlucky. All right. Let's talk about the next one here. Let's talk about Crab Rider. Back to its OG form. And I'm not going to lie to you. I know I was championing a Crab Rider Revert earlier in the year, but over the past month and a half, with the evolution of something like Inner Fire Priest, I have went out and said that I didn't really want this reverted. But they went ahead and did it, and I just want to put it out there. Back to its OG form. Cards just as busted as we remembered, but even more busted in Inner Fire Priest, and kind of took Inner Fire Priest, I believe, to the next level here. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary card in a lot of decks, and I mean, that's what I've been saying for quite a while. I think I got caught up in the Romano meme for a while and was kind of quietly rooting for it, but then now that it's happened, it's like, oh right, yeah, no, I was right at the beginning. Like this card is actually going to have like probably has a bigger impact than Chaotha, and people are rather quiet about it or comparatively, just because, like you said, it's going in an already tier 1 deck and making that deck much better and allowing it to kill a lot quicker. On top of that, like it's a incredible tool in something like Call to Arms Paladin. Even Paladin we saw was doing well in the last VS report. This slots right into that with the bridge into Call to Arms, and it's a scary card. When Fury does a lot of things. Did you know it allows your minion to attack twice? And if you can buff it up, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it depends what circles you're in, I think, a little bit, because the social media was going kind of nuts a little bit about the Chaothas, but a lot of the people that I've talked to have kind of already recognized that Crab Rider is the big busted, absolutely batshit insane thing that's happening right now. I think Inner Fire Priest was already a deck that was, like flirting as maybe one of the best decks in the format, maybe the best deck in the format. And Crab Rider has just elevated it to another complete level. It's absolutely absurd. I think that deck in particular is kind of taken off, but I've been playing Crab Rider and a bunch of other stuff as well. I've been playing it in warrior decks. Um, like Roffle was talking about, the Paladin stuff is also really, really strong. So yeah, it is just a firm reminder. Romano was wrong, Meowth was wrong. Um, this this is way over the top. Even by wild standards, it is actually pretty incredible. Just how fast this card can end games. Like the Inner Fire Priest with Crab Rider is kind of just batshit.
Was Crab Rider the problem, or is Priest the problem? No, no, no. It
What
can't be
about that
Crab Rider, right?
Radiant card,
Yeah,
right?
it's got to be
Yeah.
Drekthar and Radiant, right? And Divine Spirit. It can't be Crab Rider's fault. No, I know that I was championing for it because I missed the days of Paladin. But like I mentioned, the week and month before the reverts, when we saw Inner Fire Priest getting stronger and stronger, I was just like, yeah, Inner Fire, like Crab Rider's gonna be good, right? Like in all of those aggressive decks, but then you like put it in Inner Fire and it just like absolutely bodies all those other aggressive decks. So maybe I don't really want this. But let's move on to the next couple here. Let's talk about them in tandem. We got Moarg and Il'gynoth together here. So the Lifesteal Demon Hunter package. I don't want to spend too much time on it, other than we were really expecting these to get unnerfed, and they did, and we're happy for it because the deck now exists in Wild, even if it's not very good. And then let's talk about Bogspine Knuckles, another big one here. Bogspine going back to 4 attack, meaning that you get to do all the shenanigans with stuff like Dread Corsair and Pirates in your Evolved Shaman again. How are we feeling about? I don't know if you guys have played much of this deck post reversion, but how are we feeling about Bogspine Knuckles going back to 4 attack?
It maybe makes an argument for bringing back like the Dread Corsair Pirate package, which allowed you to pop off even harder. So the high rolls are a little bit higher. Um, Shaman gets some more mana cheat, and like tokeny minions. Evolve Shaman is always going to be like a potential threat. I just don't think it's going to immediately change all that much, other than you maybe make a play harder for leaning into the knuckles.
Yeah, I mean, I played a bit of the Evolve Shaman actually today, and I was kind of reminded that the Dread Corsair, you don't really think it's like the biggest deal ever, just the one attack, but being able to play Dread Corsair does make a pretty big difference, just because it is like the one card that you can pair with Knuckles on the same turn that you play it, and actually make like a pretty big tempo swing. So that one attack can represent like a 5-drop for 0 mana. So that's like pretty crazy. And so it did seem really good to me. I don't think Evoltion's like gonna be some that shit like the super strong thing anymore, because it does get like run over a little bit too much by aggro and things like that. But I think it's a deck that's been like hovering around pretty competitive for a while. And this is just like it's like a significant deal. Like I think it's pretty solid right now again, and it's been a little under the radar for a bit now anyway. So
Let's talk about another weapon here, Dreadlord's Bite, going from a 3 mana 2/2, deal 1 when it's outcast, to a 3 mana 3/2. It just makes it a playable card again in Odd Demon Hunter. Like it doesn't really seem like one attack is that big of a deal, but it kind of is a really big deal. In my opinion, it's extra damage, and Demon Hunter needs all the damage that it can get. I think it's a good card. I don't think it moves the needle very much on Odd Demon Hunter, but I do want to kind of use this to talk about I think Demon Hunter's low-key really good right now, and so people should be playing more of it, and you should probably be including Dreadlord's Bite in that deck.
Yeah, it's actually 2 damage over the course of the game because you have 2 weapon charges, which is, like you said, it's a big deal for Demon Hunter that's just looking to shove damage to face.
All right, let's talk about the one that I was really looking forward to. Guardian Animals going from 8 mana to 7. And I was so excited to play Guardian Animals, and then I shoved Guardian Animals in my deck, and I'm just like, this doesn't do anything anymore in current Wild. And I'm a little bit sad. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really sad that Guardian Animals kind of isn't very good. But that being said, it being back to 7, it's nice to see it. I actually think it low-key has more potential in stuff like Hunter now than it does in Druid, with all of the new beast and kind of synergy that they've gotten over the past couple of expansions, which is crazy to think. But yeah, I'm happy to see it, even if it's not super, super strong.
Yeah, same. Especially with Vandar, you can get some fun shenanigans going in a big Beast Hunter.
yeah, I felt bad, Meowth, when you sent me the Guardian Animals deck code, and I didn't even look at it. I just rejected it before I even could load the deck up.
Yeah, In theory, it's like super synergistic, right? You have like the Oaken's package into Vargoth, and then you play a Guff, and then you play Guardian Animals, and then you shoot all these demons out of your or minions out of your deck that draw you a bunch of cards, and then you just like drop a Kazakusan or a Dragon. In theory, it's like super nice until you like play it, and you have like 17 patches in your deck, and you're just like, please stop, please stop, please stop, and it's kind of terrible. And like the swing turn of like Witchwood Grizzlies, like on turn 5 or 6, right? If you're a druid, as crazy as that is, like 2 Witchwood Grizzlies is like not even that insane anymore on turn 5, turn 6, which is like
Guardian
actually
Animals.
insane.
Guardian Animals got nerfed a long time ago, and
Yeah.
things have changed.
Things have changed indeed. What a sad time that we actually didn't get to play with this card in Wild, which it makes me very sad. All right, we got a couple cards here. Jandis Barov going back to 5 mana means you get to play it in Odd Rogue, you get to play it in LPG Mage. If you notice, I'm mentioning a bunch of decks that are not very good. And so while Jandis might be better at 5 mana, and while I love Jandis, she's making those decks better, but she's not going to make those decks good.
I don't even think she's making Odd Rogue better. I think you want to
maybe
go the same you want to go the same route as the Odd Demon Hunter and just like shove damage to face, and she does not do that.
Well, she's diamond, so she's at least pretty while you look at her, right?
Well, she sits in your hand, you mean?
I was saying more time to admire her. She never leaves you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. A card I wish never came back. Let's talk about High Abyss Allura. High Abyss Allura going back to 4 mana, spell burst. This is it's a combo card, essentially, is what it is, with stuff like Prismatic Lens, Tip the Scales, sometimes Anyfin, depending on the deck that you're playing, but also in Priest. I don't know if you guys follow White Delight on Twitter, but White Delight's doing the Allura into Quest and then plays Eric's Cloning Gallery, playing Darkest Hour Priest. This is a card very similar to last year when we saw Necrim Apothecary get unnerved. It was like a very similar reaction to me, where you're just enabling these like turn 3, turn 4 non-games when you revert a card like this, which is not something I'm a fan of. I don't know if you guys agree or have some other silver linings about use cases for Allura.
No, there's no silver lining. I was not happy to see this card unnerfed either, even though I don't think that it will be super strong necessarily. But like I think the Necrim Apothecary is a good comparison, where it just kind of creates gross play patterns that there or maybe enough of in Wild already. We don't need to add more of them. It's a more balanced, I guess, version of a Chaothos type situation but there's still that future potential if Priest or Paladin get more big spells. It's just not something we needed, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Allura and Kale together are pretty interesting in the fact that they did actually go for these reverts. And it kind of speaks a little bit to what they seem to think of as acceptable for Wild, where they're definitely okay pushing OTKs that aren't necessarily the strongest. But even if those OTKs are happening as early as like turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, like it definitely seems to have signaled that the reverts here seemed mostly about power level, but at the same time, there's still some really weird stuff because there's things like Crab Rider that got reverted. And it does feel like, although you're talking about the philosophy about like, they want to do reverts they think would make the form more fun, there does seem to be like a lack of really coherent consistency with a lot of the revert decisions and like the ones that weren't reverted and things like that. Like, I understand if they wanted to go full chaos mode and basically just like revert everything. Like, I don't agree with it, but I kind of understand it. But it feels like there's such a weird middle ground and like picking and choosing going on here. But yeah, like I said, it does seem like they're fine with high roll disgusting turn 4s being a thing as long as it's not like in a really particularly great deck.
I kind of want to use this transition to another conversation here, because I kind of had the same realization like the day that they announced all the reverts, because I was sitting here and I was like, if you look at all the cards that they reverted, they all fit into very similar styles of decks for the most part, right? You're looking at these combo-y-ish decks, or you're looking at these much slower decks, or cards that were just like never really good in the first place. And so like cards that we didn't see reverted, stuff like Nitro Boost Poison, which we thought was like as safe as it possibly could be for a reboot.
No.
We didn't see that. We didn't see
Nah,
stuff
I
like
didn't. I didn't. I
yeah,
didn't see Nitro. Nah.
I thought so. I sound like the aggro noob on the podcast now because I'm gonna mention a whole bunch of cards that I'm very surprised that they didn't revert. But like stuff like we didn't see Gibberling unnerfed. We didn't see First Day of School get changed to either of its two previous formats. We didn't see Gibberling touched. We didn't see like Voracious Reader. Like none of the aggressive tools that had gotten nerfed over the past year and a half looked like they got any consideration for change. I shouldn't say that. I guess we don't know what went on behind the scenes, but they didn't get touched, right? And it felt very weird to me where like you went out on a limb here with stuff like Chaotha and Crab Rider, and to a lesser extent Allura, but like we couldn't get back stuff like Nitro Boost Poison or Hand of a Doll or First Day of School, and it felt very weird to me.
Well, yeah, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, the decks that theoretically keep those early combo decks in check would be things that are hyper aggressive. So it seems like I agree that there's a little bit of imbalance between the types of cards that they unnerved, but you know, we don't really have much insight into how those decisions were made or why those decisions were made. But you know, looking at the cards that were changed there, yeah, I would agree with the fact that, you know, it, at least with the powerful ones, it sort of trends in a certain direction. I would argue that maybe Grab Rider is so good that it operates as an aggro tool as well as you know, an early combo tool. Just because it is extraordinary in Inner Fire Priest doesn't mean that's the only place that it's a fantastic card in. But aside from that, you know, not really. Dreadlord's Bite, you know, you get some aggression for Demon Hunter, but Demon Hunter's, you know, been struggling for a bit anyway, so it just kind of needs all the help it can get.
But yeah, I guess like I don't really think that not going after the Gibberling and Nitro thing is wrong. Like I've been kind of against those for the most part because I think they're a bit too strong, and I think Nitro could have been a very big issue with the new weapon that's come out as well. The 3-mana 4/3 weapon that could have been bad. It just does. I mean, I guess I said that it was inconsistent or it was a little confusing, some of the reverts, but I guess it's actually not that confusing, except for Crab Rider, where it's like they're not doing aggro ones, they're not doing like really powerful aggro tools, but they're totally fine with just the like I was saying, the super swingy OTK non-game stuff happening turn 4, turn 5, as long as the deck itself isn't that amazing. I guess like Crab Rider is the really confusing one specifically, which kind of throws all that a little bit out of whack.
I kind of was hoping for a lot more, but that being said, when it comes to reverts, I'm very excited that we got what we got, right? And I'm always happy to see them revert a whole bunch of cards that rotate to wild.
I'm gonna play so many Crab Rider decks for the next like forever. Like I really, really enjoy it. I just think it's gross, but I'm gonna main that.
It seems like it'd be fine in Murloc Warlock, which, you know, I got scammed a few times by in the theory crafting stream. It's better than I thought.
Oh God, don't say those words. All right, let's use that. Let's the beautiful Murloc Warlock reference to transition here into the new expansion. And so, like we mentioned at the very top here, we know that we haven't reviewed like about 50 cards left in the expansion, but we're not going to go through all that for the sake of time today. And so, really, I think what we're going to do here is we had all the cards revealed on Tuesday. The three of us were super fortunate to participate in the Wild Theory crafting stream on Thursday. And so we actually got to play around with some of these wild, or with some of these new cards in wild specific decks and archetypes. And so I kind of just want to open up the floor here for you guys. How are you guys feeling about the new expansion? What are you guys excited about? What's looking powerful? We can talk about decks, cards, synergies, all that kind of stuff. Whatever you guys are feeling.
Mech decks are heckin' broken, dude. Like I went in pretty low on them. I'm like, oh, it'll be a fun novelty. And no. I went 9-1 with Mech Mage and was killing people on turn 3 and 4 consistently. The combination of Seafloor Gateway with the cost reducers that already exist plus Mecha Shark. I don't know if we've talked about Seafloor Gateway on the podcast because it might have been one of the newer ones released,
I
but
think
it's
it was.
draw. Yeah, it's draw. It's 3 mana draw and mech. Reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. If it just felt like a better Banana Man every time I played it, where it's like, oh, this enables stupid broken things, and so I just absolutely farm people by holding low cost Murlocs with some cost reducers, and then spamming the board on turn 3 with Mecha Shark, and a lot of heroes exploded in the process. Like essentially you have 6 mech warpers in your deck with Seafloor Gateway is how it works out. But you can also draw a lot of cards between that card and Trench Surveyor, which allows you to like look at 3 and then pick a mech as well. Like deck seems bonkers. And then over in Paladin, Radar Detector is very nearly as advertised. I think I was averaging 4 cards per draw, which for 2 mana is absolutely outrageous. And compared to Meow's build, I think I was maybe running too few mechs and still hitting that pretty consistently. So, yeah, mech decks actually look very good. They it felt very much like, or at least Mech Mage felt very much like old Mech Hunter, where you're just like making this wide board and then throwing down a Metal Tooth Leaper. The difference is that you essentially front load that damage. So you play a Mecha Shark and then you fill your board with a bunch of minions, and they do 3 charge damage every time. It's crazy. The good news about all of this, from my perspective at least, is these decks, in my opinion, have the potential to just like destroy Pirate Warrior. So I think Pirate Warrior might have a hard time against these types of decks, and if they're popular early on, it's going to get bullied, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I didn't actually play a ton of the mech decks. I had the unfortunate situation where I queued up like one game of Mech Mage, and I queued into Engine playing Odd Reno Priest, and I just couldn't kill him. And I was like, first of all, shout out to Engine for having the genius to play Odd Reno Priest or the Theocraft Extreme. My mind would have never gone there once, but I queued into a fair amount of the mech decks in general, the Paladin and the Mage, and I thought, you know what, you guys seem to have it covered. I kept on getting I was getting scouting reports from my Twitch chat, basically going, "Hey, Meowth's gone like 5-1 with Paladin, or Roffle just went 8-1." And so I was in the loop, but I didn't actually play a ton of them myself. But they did seem very impressive when they're making my portrait explode.
Yeah, I will say when I think we saw Mecha Shark, I was a little bit sad that stuff like magnetizing didn't count as summoning, but after playing with Mecha Shark, I'm very, very glad that magnetizing doesn't count as summoning, because then you could like legitimately be OTKing people on like turn 3, turn 4 with some of those discounters. Yeah, I was playing a really weird version of like Mage that was running stuff like Target Dummies and Clockwork Gnomes, just to kind of go all in on the Mecha Shark. I think it'll take some time to figure out what the best builds of Mage are, just because it's been so damn long since we've seen a Mech Mage. But I want to come back to this Radar Detector in Paladin. I cast it 10 times. I think the first 10 times that I cast it, I drew 8 of those times, and the other 2 I drew 4. And so like I was averaging like 4.75 draws. And so 3.5 my ass, by the way. But I'm just messing with you. But also like Radar Detector is absolutely it's absolutely insane, right? It is Divine Favor but better, like we talked about when it initially came out, where literally I would like vomit my hand on turn 2. My opponent would be like, I'm going to use a whole bunch of resources to deal with these. And then turn 3, turn 4, you play Radar Detector, you play another Mech Warper, and then you go again and fill an entire board. And then if anything sticks, you have stuff like Skyclaw and all these magnetic effects that just kind of get so grossly out of hand. It's kind of insane. I think Mech Paladin's the deck to keep an eye on out of the 2. I think Mech Paladin has like the higher ceiling, I think. I was playing 4 spells. I was playing like 2 Crystologies, 2 Radar Detectors, and everything else was mechs. But yeah, mech decks, like Roffle said, that do actually seem like they're back. At least Mech Paladin and Mech Mage, back in the meta. I don't think they're necessarily going to be top tier, right? Because Inner Fire Priest runs this card called Shard of the Naru that kind of absolutely hoses mech decks. And Free Shaman runs this card called Devolve, which kind of absolutely hoses mech decks. So I don't think they're going to be like super top tier, but I think they're going to be back in the meta, and I think people can win and have fun doing it.
I mean, do those cards like really beat mage that much though? If you deal 18 damage on turn 3 or 4, like you've already got the damage through. Those cards don't deal with the board. They still leave stats on board that kill you. So like I got silenced a lot with both decks. It was much more punishing um with Mech Paladin, and for that reason I could very much see Mech Mage being like another Shadow Priest type deck. I think that you were right on with your build, and just like I can't tell you how many times I was holding a Zilliax being like, why is this in my deck? So like the magnetic minions, that anything that's costing more than like 3 or 4, that if you can't play it for free with a double mech warper, it probably has no business being in the deck. So like I could definitely see that. In terms of radar detector, I was actually frequently doing the opposite, where I was playing a more hand buff oriented version of the deck, and I would play a radar detector before going in and then just vomit this disgusting board with a bunch of stats. And use like a bubble bot or something to protect it. But I could see Mech Paladin going either way. Like I think early builds will probably lean more towards hand buff, but there are times where it's just like I'm throwing so many stats into play. Like, do I really need to hold them and buff them in hand, or why not just like dump them, magnetize them, and go that route? So I'm curious to see where that one goes. But I think I'm of the opposite opinion. I think Mech Mage it might have been skewed by my own success with it, but like I think that's the one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, the decks are going to be, despite sharing like a ton of the same cards, the real difference is just the from hand reach that the mage has versus the perhaps the more aggressive and consistent reload the paladin has, right? Like that's the difference. So it's more like aggro druid as the paladin instead of just going more for board, and then the mage can act more like shadow priest, like Roffle was saying. So which one's better might just depend on the meta. We'll see. I think, we'll figure out the build. I think something cute could be like just running Vindicator and just dropping the Christology, just because Radar is so busted. Like you just run those as your like non-met cards because you really want it so badly. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Like I think it'll be interesting, and it might just depend on what the meta looks like. Like they're both potentially doing very very strong things, and which one pulls ahead might just depend on what it's playing against.
I do want to wrap up this little mini discussion here about mechs, though, to talk about a couple of cards that were revealed that we haven't really touched on yet because they got released last week. But 2 cards that were like low-key really good for me in these mech decks. So first of all, the Amalgam of the Deep, and I think we'll be talking about this one a lot today. The 2-mana 2/3 Amalgam Battlecry, like choose a friendly minion, discover a minion of the same tribe as that. Just using that as a 1 or 2 mana mech that discovered you another 1 mana mech that you got to vomit onto the board seemed like it wasn't super exciting, but it did a whole lot, right? Like it does a lot more than a 2-drop really feels like it should. And then another card that I was like super impressed with, like I wasn't expecting it to be kind of that insane, Security Automaton. So this is a 2 mana 1/3. Every time you summon a mech, give it +1/+1. And so I had times where like you tempo out a Security Automaton. If they can't answer it, they're taking like 10 damage on turn 2 or turn 3 because you play a mech warper galvanizer, vomit 4 or 5 more mechs, and then they are just taking 8 or 9. Like it's Undertaker with appropriate support in Wild is what it feels like, or Mana Worm that has appropriate support, which like, it feels really good because you're not spending 2 mana on it most of the time either.
Yeah, no, it's OG Undertaker for sure, because like you said, you can do 2 things. You needn't necessarily just try and tempo this out and cross your fingers and hope it sticks, because of the fact that you are running Mechwarper Galvanizer and Seafloor in Mage. So you can just like save it for your big pop off turn. You can protect it with an Annoyotron or something along those lines, and it gets out of hand very quickly. Like the limiting factor here is board space because like the same is true for Mecha Shark, because you can just play so many cards that it's like I need to open up some slots on board here. But yeah, this card was absolutely nutty, and maybe not as good, but like, definitely an inclusion in some of these decks was Click Clucker, the lobster crab as well. It's a 1/1. It's already like an Argent Squire, but then on top of that, it has a battle cry that gives a random mech in your hand +1/+1. And so like the important thing here is that it costs 1 mana. But it's kind of also just like a fine like on curve play, which mechs don't actually have a lot of for turn
Yeah.
one, right? Like you had the Clockwork Gnome in the past, and that was really about it. So Click Clocker is just a good turn one. If you in decks that have a lot of card draw, so you can refill your hand very easily.
So, moral of this 15-minute conversation: mech decks are good. Mech decks feel a lot stronger. All right, so let's move our conversation here to another deck that a lot of people were excited and or scared about. Let's talk about Switcheroo Priests. So the theory here was Switcheroo into Boar in the Darkness, right? And then you like Vivid Nightmare the 20 attack Boar, and you do 40 damage theoretically as early as like turn 4. I know our experiences with this deck were a little bit skewed because of the deck building restrictions for the theory crafting stream. But even with that, I think people like Goku, that restriction might have actually helped in the refinement process because he was running Sir Finley as a way to reset if you ever drew the minions before you switcherooed. That being said, I don't know if we were running other minions in the deck, stuff like Handmaiden as the 3/2 draw, maybe the other priests, or if we were just playing something that wasn't Boar when it came to Switcheroo Priest.
Yeah, I only encountered Switcheroo a few, well, what I guess we would call the Switcheroo, the Boar Darkness combo, a couple times, and every time it just like it was a punching bag because it played the Switcheroo, but then whiffed on the minions. Like I had a 1/1 darkness played against me, but no chargers came after that. So I don't really know how the deck was working. Like you said, Goku did mention that it worked. I'm sure it's like there's already an inherent failure rate. I can't see this being like a super powerful deck, but it's a fun meme. That said, I think that Switcheroo is still an incredible card for a lot of decks. Like, it's you just shove it in that Miracle Priest that we were seeing a fair amount of in standard towards the end of the rotation, and you hit the specific minions you need. There are a lot of decks that run very few minions and rely heavily on drawing them, like the Chaotha deck that we were talking about earlier. And this card it gives you some redundancy with things like Insight, and even probably replaces Horn in those types of decks. So Switcheroo is a good card, even if the decks that people are planning to play it in aren't necessarily good off the rip.
Yeah, the Switcheroo Priest was kind of hard to judge because it's such an extremely high variance deck where you're probably going to play 15 games and you think it's like the greatest tier 0 deck of all time, or you're just confused and you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. this is terrible. And so in a limited sample over just like, the reveal stream, it is kind of hard to gauge it. We'll see how it goes when it gets to the wider player base. Again, my expectation is still that it won't be that great, but again, it's kind of like another deck that's just falling into the Barnes Chaotha Druid kind of feel, or like Allura. Like it's another turn 4 OTK single player combo deck, which it just feels like this is propping up more and more. I mean, by Blizzard's own intent, in the case of Chaotha and Allura. So yeah, it is kind of interesting that this keeps on seemingly popping up. The Switcheroo, like I played some other versions that weren't just like the pure Boar Darkness. I played it with just like the 0 mana legendary. And it turns out like a 0 mana 20/20 is also good, like even if it can't go face. So the fact that you get to play that out was kind of fun. And yeah, I was playing like Radiant, Maiden, Legendary Darkness, one copy of Boar, just to high roll people. But it was interesting. I think Priest is still one of the more complicated classes right now in terms of the deck building, and might take some time for people to figure out.
Yeah. I'm not excited to see. Maybe I will be excited to see all the boar priests on day one, because they'll be free wins, easy YouTube content, right? When decks pop off. All right, I'm gonna kind of just go through the classes here. I know, Corb, you were playing some mage outside of just mage. You want to talk about your experience with Mage Darkler?
Yeah, I played I need to look up the card name. I played sorry, it's called Spinelash Siren. It's Darkler. I played a lot of that because I kind of like was looking at the theocrafting, what to do, and I was like, what do I even want to do with mage? Mechs, everyone will be playing mechs. And then I found this, and I built this in like 5 minutes, and I just chucked in every Naga that I could, and I chucked in like Ray of Frost, First Flame, and I had no actual clue what my win condition was supposed to be, but I looked like I was going to cheat a lot of mana, and that was very exciting. So, I don't know, this deck is, it's honestly maybe very, very strong in Standard, because a lot of the Nagas are like Standard cards, like they all came in the same set, so we'll see how that goes, but the idea is just, play the Siren, play Naga, play spells, vomit out more stats, vomit out a full board. I don't know what you meant to do after that, but the first part was really cool and exciting.
What Nagas were you running? Just like the 2-mana, like neutral.
I was
Nagas?
playing almost all the neutral Nagas basically, like the discover a spell, and then like if you've played a spell, draw a Naga, and the 4-drop that lets you like create a 1/1 that casts a spell. My very first time I played that, I got a little 1/1 that said cast ice block, which felt very mage, and some people on Reddit enjoyed that one.
Gosh, I'm kind of excited, but also kind of scared if Darkler Mage becomes another thing. But also, Mage could use any sort of positive vibes right now, so maybe we're hoping for it to be real. Props for trying out some Darkler Mage. I don't think I saw anybody else doing that.
Thanks. It didn't go great, but I mean, to be fair, it was 8 p.m. deck where I spent half the turn reading the cards, so that's not really a good sign.
That only scares you for the future, right? Only scares you for the future. All right, let's move over here to Rogue here. Rogue, I know we were super excited about Hook Tusk, and for good reason. Hook Tusk was a lot of fun to play during the theocrafting stream. But what I also found out was, there were a lot of other really good cards for Rogue that got revealed in the card dump on Tuesday. And they support an archetype that kind of clicks now why Nitro Boost didn't get reverted, as sad as I was at the time. So let's talk about the two kind of innocuous cards first. Let's talk about Gone Fishing. 1-mana spell that says Dredge. But if you have comp with this card, you draw a card. 1-mana draw card in Rogue. No way that this can be abused, ever. No way. And then Fillet Fighter. This is a 1-mana 3/1 pirate. Battlecry, deal 1 damage. Elven Archer on steroids with a pirate tag. And then the biggest one, Swordfish. This is a 3-mana 2/3 weapon. Battlecry, Dredge. If you dredge a pirate to the top of your deck, give this weapon and the pirate +2 attack. So in the right deck, this is a 3-mana 4/3. Rest in peace, Hook Scimitar. You will never see play ever again until this gets nerfed. It turns out a 3-mana 4/3 weapon that you can buff with stuff like Buccaneer and stuff like Deadly Poison, and getting 0-mana Dread Corsairs that are 5/3s because of this seems kind of gross. I played a little bit of Pirate Aggro Rogue on the Theory Crafting stream towards the end of my stream, just because I didn't really get to play with these. Let me tell you, I don't know if it was just because like it was the Theory Crafting stream, but I was also playing against like some legit-ish decks, right? Like I wasn't playing against Roffle and his Fires. It was in a Shari Warrior deck, right? I was playing against some like legit decks, and it popped off, dude. Like this deck, I was turn 4, turn 5 killing people, like with interaction from the opponent. So I think straight up Aggro Rogue might be the copium that all those Kingsbane enjoyers and Odd Rogue enjoyers are looking for in Wild.
Yeah, Swordfish is pretty bonkers. I had this really rough issue where I was trying to play like a greedy Reno pirate rogue so that I could get the Hook Tusk value down, and I just kept making my opponent's hero explode. It was weird. Despite drawing patches like literally 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 of the games that I played with it, and like they just kept dying to 12 damage from Swordfish, and I was just like, I can't keep doing this. In that type of deck, I was actually impressed by the way that Cutlass Courier was performing as well. Like it was just snagging pirates left and right. It felt very good when paired with the Swordfish, either hero power on 2, courier on 3, attack, follow it up with a Swordfish and get more attacks, or the other way around, play the Swordfish, hold, play the courier behind it, get some draws. Like that card drew me a lot of cards. Is really what happened, because he's got a pretty big caboose. He can protect it with a weapon, and it seemed all right. I don't think it'll be good in that like hyper aggro version by any means, but in that Reno rogue that's looking for more pirates, I think that's a good slot for it. And I think it overperformed my expectations. But yeah, the fillet fighter is just kind of a bonkers one drop, right? Like it pulls patches, it pulls the parachute brigand that potentially kills off your opponent's patches, or their one drop. Like that card was also nuts. It was a lot of the 1 mana pirates in Rogue in particular feel like they want to be held, and this is one where you're just like, sure, I'll play it. Like it feels a lot better than tempoing out a prize plunderer, or in some cases a buck, or definitely a deckhand. So I think it gives the deck a little bit of flexibility in what pirate it starts with.
Yeah, I didn't get to really play against any of this stuff because, like Meowth was saying, he was playing it more towards the end of the stream. I bet it's a little bit early, so it's interesting to hear all that. I think I might have dismissed that 3 mana 2/5 draw a pirate that Roffle's talking about. I think I might have dismissed it just because it's not aggressive, but at the same time, 5 health, like Roffle said, is a lot of health, and like card draw is good, and you keep drawing like cheap cards, so it kind of works pretty well, I think, in theory. So I might have to go back to the drawing board on some theory crafting that I've done already. But yeah, Rogue, I didn't really get to try any of this stuff myself, but I thought I just didn't bother going down that route. I just felt confident that it was probably going to be pretty good, the Swordfish type of deck. So yeah, it's definitely something I'll probably be playing on the actual release.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Swordfish got adjusted a little bit in standard, because a 3 mana 4/3 weapon that also gives a pirate +2 attack kind of just seems absolutely bonkers.
Right. The potential saving grace for that card is that there are far fewer high quality pirates in standard. So
yeah,
I mean, Buck just moved to core, Roffle.
Like... Well, I didn't pay attention to that because it doesn't affect me.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised too. I found out tonight. I was just like looking through, and yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're just gonna ignore it. Standard players, please don't get it nerfed. Thank you. All right. Shaman. So, I didn't want to spend too much time here. Just multicaster support is cute. I played a lot of multicaster Shaman. It felt like it was just going to be a more suboptimal or more fun version of free Shaman, but it's there. It does things. It's fun. I think the deck will be like very legit in standard. The card that I wanted to talk about in Shaman actually was Anchored Totem. So, God, I'm really going to sound like an aggro noob here, but the deck that I actually enjoyed the most from the theory crafting stream was actually some Even Shaman. Even Shaman with Anchored Totem and the new Amalgam of the Deep. And so, just a quick math lesson here. Amalgam of the Deep, there's only 13 totems even in Wild, right? Like, it's even, like, in Standard, the pool is even more limited, but even in Wild, there's only 13 other totems. And so, you're discovering stuff like Grand Totem Eyesore, Flame Tongue Totem, Totem Golems, Totem Goliaths so frequently in Wild. And it's kind of gross. Like, even Shaman's not supposed to have access to Grand Totem Eyesore. Like, it's not supposed to. But I think there's a lot of other, like, really sweet synergy in the deck with stuff like lackeys from that totem, your hero power. When you play a Splitting Axe, the copies will get buffed multiple times. Maelstrom Portal summons get buffed. Like, there's a lot of sweet synergy in the deck. Like, I know it's not the most exciting deck, right? But I think it's super sweet. I think there's a lot of, it's an aggro deck with a bunch of like really sweet synergies in there, and Anchor Totem was like at the core of that, and so I'm excited to play some of that once the expansion drops.
Yeah, I got wrecked by I think Meowth on Even Shaman, and it was doing pretty bonkers things. With a lot of them coming back to the Anchored Totem, and then yeah, I had another game against I think Slizzle who did score an eyesore off of the Amalgam of the Deep, and yeah, that's kind of scary. I was able to keep his board in check with spamming the ever interactive card Snowfall Guardian. But if I hadn't been able to be so interactive, I would have been just stomped by this massive board that was scaling every turn. But yeah, the Anchored Totem and the Amalgam both have really cute interactions within a totem-based deck. Like you said, the hero power buffing off of the Anchored Totem makes a very good turn 3. The fact that I didn't even see the splitting axe, but that's kind of bonkers. Like you said, the lackeys off of the totem end up becoming legitimate threats, and like those actually were really frustrating to deal with because you get like rush and shoot and that kind of thing, to where you're just like it's hard to take the board back against an even shaman if they get ahead. So yeah, deck looks like it got quite a bit better just from 2 very high quality cards in it.
Look, we've had the return of even Warlock and even Paladin. It's about time even Shaman and Odd Rogue as well kind of came back into the mix, I think.
Yeah, you're still on that Odd Rogue copium. I see.
I trust it. They got a lot of stuff in this expansion, Meowth.
It got the Finley Secret Passage potential interaction.
Oh, that's true.
and it got some very, Fillet Fisher is just a very good card in that deck. I think that deck is looking pretty good as well.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of decks that look good, is Murloc Warlock one of them?
No, but I think it performed a lot better than I expected. A lot of it was it plays differently than I expected as well. A lot of times it was just like it was using the health to pay for a Gorlock Ravager, which is a 5-mana 4/3 Murloc, which sounds terrible, but if you're paying health for it, you get to draw 3 Murlocs, which ends up being pretty good for a deck that's also running like Chum Bucket. So it might have just been that like the 3 opponents that I queued into were high rolling out of their minds, but like I think this is one of the only decks that I lost to with or the only deck I lost to with Mech Mage, and it's just because they were able to get such a big board before I could get a Mecha Shark thing down. And then I also just got like scammed by a gigantic old Murkai when I was playing against one as Shaman. So I don't think the deck's going to be good or competitive, but it's again like it's a deck that you can actually play in the wild format maybe, and I was not expecting that to be the case, especially throw a Crab Rider in there and buff it up with Chum Bucket, and you're starting to do some scary things there as well.
I almost feel like just Sea Devil into Gigafin by itself can just push an archetype. Like, it's so stupid. Like, I did that to a couple people, and it's like, what just happened?
You did that to me.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Feel bad.
Yeah, no downside as well. Like, you can't, like, if you're ahead on board, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a lot of stats that just got cheated into play. I don't know. Like, it's such an insane high roll, and I think like the general like card quality isn't that bad, and I don't know. Like Roffle said, I'm even probably a little bit higher than what Roffle described. Like I can see this being pretty solid actually, which is so weird. But whatever, mana cheat's strong. Who cares?
Yeah, you're saying all of this, and I still won't believe you guys until I actually see it in action.
Yeah, like, I don't believe it. I'm saying it. Like I don't.
Oh goodness. All right, so Murloc Warlock, a deck to keep an eye on. I guess maybe. It feels so weird saying that. Okay. Last but not least, I want to talk to you guys about Forged in Flame. So, Corb, I know you pulled a Yes Warrior on me, and you milled yourself for, I think, 23 or 24.
Yes.
Which was pretty hot. Got a good laugh out of that. But how are we feeling about Forged in Flame as kind of like a draw engine alongside Bladed Gauntlet in like a, dare I say the words, Dead Man's Hand Warrior?
Not optimistic, Meowth. Not optimistic at all. It was a sad time.
Yeah, I was trying. Got to give the cultist something to believe in. Wait, did the Forged in Flame? I feel like was that strong enough?
There's a lot of issues going on. It was a lot of like awkward dead cards that didn't quite work. It was a lot of, why does my Bladed Gauntlet draw 15 but I only have 6 hand slots? It was like there was a lot of issues going on, I think, with the plus all the normal stuff that Dead Man's Hand Warrior just has problems with. So I don't know. I actually trust the tradable weapon draw package like a lot more than Bladed Gauntlet. Like I think that's just like a much better idea. Like you don't tend to need to draw more than 5 cards anyway if you're going to be playing that card. So I think if you are going to use it, that's probably like the more intelligent place. But if you're intelligent, you can't draw 23 cards and have a great time on the first game. So priorities, right?
And before Roffle starts talking about Fires as Inashari, I do want to talk about a little bit of From the Depths. Because I queued into someone and I don't remember who it was, but from the Depths is actually kind of some gross amount of mana cheating. Like we talked about when it initially got revealed, right? It is 3 mana discount 15. And so I saw somebody play this card and then dredge up a 0 cost From the Depths, play it again, and then play Sir Finley. And their entire hand cost 0 mana, and then they tried to Mechathin combo me, which was kind of hot. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was kind of hot, and so I think there's some serious potential here. I don't play a whole lot of warriors, so I'm not completely sure how that build's going to look, but it did seem like there was some gross things that you could do combo wise with From the Depths. But that being said, you're playing combo in warriors, so I'm not sure exactly how good that's gonna go by itself. But kind of excited about From the Depths post Theory Crafting stream.
I mean, it's mana cheat, so it's a card that has potential. I don't think the Finley Dream that you described is very realistic, but like it's certainly cute to show off when it does work. Yeah, I don't know. Even just maybe in like a big warrior, you could do some fun things with this. Getting to look at 5 cards, or do you get to look at 5 cards? How Dredge looks at? Sorry, I'm losing my mind
so it'll
right now.
discount the bottom 5, but you only look at the 3, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Getting to look at 3 cards and then place one at a reduced cost. Like it's kind of like a Farsight that you get to predict a little bit better. So. I could see that having some utility. I think Dane was maybe playing it in Dead Man's Hand as well with that Finley combo, so that you could, just get a boatload of mana cheat in Warrior. But again, I don't know. Like, I think the lack of win condition is going to be the hard part for Dead Man's Hand moving forward.
Yep.
It's always the warrior problem. It's always that lack of actual win condition.
Yeah. All right, Roffle, take it away with your Fires as Inashari, because I know you played a lot of that deck.
Yeah, it was terrible. I won too many games early with Mech Paladin. This is, I think, the second or third deck I tried. It was the third deck I tried, and I was winning too many games with my other decks, which are like actually competent decks. So I could draw the fires quickly and then just lose the game to my opponent playing good cards and me playing 5 mana bad cards. It's a lot of fun though. The tradable draw engine was pretty good, but the rest of my deck was not. It's just not a reliable win condition. I think part of it was also my build. I'm actually going to. I wasn't running Vandar, which I think was a mistake, and I think that like holding the fires for when you have the Vandar in hand is just the play. You could even actually run Vandar and Drekthar in the same deck, and you just hold both of them, play the Vandar, and then follow that with the Drekthar in future turns, because like there's no real anti-synergy there other than because if they're stuck in your deck, they just get converted into random minions anyway. But deck's bad, very bad. And I knew that going in, but like I think I'll probably revisit it after the expansion drops, just so that I have more time, because I felt like a little bit rushed with the theory crafting. It's like I got to play things that are actually capable of winning games, because I only have a few hours, and like maybe an hour with each deck. So this is the one that needs an afternoon to make work. But it was fun. It was just not fun to keep getting bodied by Corb's boars.
I was about to say, I'm so sorry. Like I had twice through the theory crafting where I just queued up Ball Priest. I wanted to try Ball Priest for things like Maiden and like a whole bunch of the new stuff. And I queued into you back to back, like we just rematch immediately, and I was like, oh my god. And then it happened like a couple hours later where someone was trying like Death Rattle Rogue. And I just bored them on turn 6. I'm just like, I can't do this. I just deleted the deck. I was like, this isn't what the theory crafting is meant to be.
Yeah. To be fair, I unfortunately I caught Mark later on the stream trying the Fires Warrior, and I kind of did the same to him with Mech Mage, and I didn't feel great about it. It was like my 6th or 7th straight time drawing Mecha Shark with cost reducers on curve, and it's just like, well, I'm sorry, I know how this feels on the other side of this.
Yeah. I felt so guilty doing, like, I had my moment too. I was playing Mech Paladin, and I think my first 3 or 4 games were like Dane, Mark Dane, and like my chat was just like, the third time I queued into Dane, he was just like, Meowth again, gah. And I was like, yeah, I feel that. I know. I understand, because I was playing Mech Paladin, right? And so I know Dane was on something with Deathlord in Druid. I didn't want to ask any questions. I didn't want to ask any questions. And Mark was playing something in Shaman, so like I felt kind of guilty, but also Mech Paladin was a lot of fun.
I also had, like, while we're just talking about this, I had the opposite problem where I just impulse conceded like 3 or 4 times, and I felt really terrible about that, because I know that we were kind of like warned, like, hey, try not to concede, because people are making content, let them do their thing. It's so hard after so many years of practicing losing, to just turn off that instant switch.
I'm gonna be honest, we actually had a discussion in my chat about that when I was playing you the second time against Boar Priest, and somebody was like, wouldn't it be better to just concede this? And I'm like, yeah, it would, but like that would be kind of scummy to Corb. So fortunately, I was able to resist the urge. I only had a couple quick concedes against me, but most of the time it was when I like had just a lethal board showing, so it was pretty meaningless. But I did also there were situations where I was like, oh, I get to play this. Finally, I get to play this new Colossal Minion. Oh, and so yeah, it did like feel a little bit bad. But we had people in different regions, different types of players as well that may not have gotten. There's like press as well, is what I mean, that may not have gotten the memo to not concede. So it wasn't a big deal.
I remember playing some big Beast Hunter against Roffle, and I had him dead. And then I was like, I want to see a Colossal Minion. So I didn't kill him. And then he proceeds to top deck Shadow Walk and freeze my board and gain 1 billion armor and then kill me. And I was very sad because he didn't play Colossal Minion as he killed me. And I was like, come on, dude.
Hey, I played a Gigafin against you. It ate
that doesn't
an entire...
count. You cleared my entire board of like 9-drop Beast. I mean,
yeah,
counts,
that absolutely does count. That's what Gigafin does. I was
already dead at that point, okay? Anyways.
Yeah, but it was delicious.
Oh god. All right. I guess I mean that's kind of a lot of the highlights from the new cards here in the new set. And we've been talking a lot about the theory crafting stream. So first of all, shout outs to Blizzard for inviting the 3 of us. It was a ton of fun. It was kind of an honor. We made it. We wild theory crafting for the first time. we've done it. We're officially part of Constructed Hearthstone now. Just kind of, I know I was at a really weird time for you, Core, but kind of just like the experience in general. Did you enjoy it? Was it a lot of fun? Would you do it again, sort of thing? If they asked us back.
I know the answer is like 100%. I meant to say yes, but I'm also thinking about how miserable I was at 5 a.m. I would probably say yes again because I feel like I'd forget how terrible it was like by the time the next one rolled around. But regardless of me personally, because I'm probably in the literal worst time zone in the entire world for this event, maybe they could change it a little bit, but I still appreciate everything that they did in sort of offering this up to the entire community and, regardless of my personal difficulties with it. So it was still very, very cool to just be a part of it. And, it was cool. It was great.
What about you, Roffle? How was your experience with the theory crafting stream?
Quite honestly, it was the most fun I've ever had in Hearthstone, and I've been playing since closed beta. Like, it was just nice to... It wasn't just like the exclusivity of only me get to play new card. Like I don't care about that, but it was like it was fun to queue into you guys, to queue into other content creators like Dane and Engine that play on different servers, so I don't get to queue into them. And like, there was, I don't know, because we were all just there creating content, it was a little bit more loose and laid back. Everybody's kind of like just having fun rather than trying to scam wins as quickly and easily as possible, like your typical ladder match. So it played like a 6-hour show match is what it felt like, even though we were all playing some sliding scale of good decks over the course of the day. Like it just it was just a lot of fun. Like there's no pressure to win. There's no because you got to see cool new cards when your opponent was doing something too. So even when I lost, it was like, well, that was awesome. I want to try that now. That's what bumped Mech Mage up in the queue for me, is that like I got scammed a couple times by it earlier, and I'm like, well, my turn, me do that now. And so it was just like, I don't know, it was a real fun environment. That like basically everybody coming to the agreement that we're just going to try new cards and have fun. Is what I would wish a day one experience would be for everybody. But unfortunately, when you queue up ladder, there's incentive to win. So people are going to play just like good decks and try and style on people that are doing something greedy on the day one of the expansion. So, I guess it's the experience I wish everybody would have on day one with the new cards, because the new cards are really fun. A lot of them are stronger than I thought and more fun to play than I thought. And I would just like for everybody to get to experience like playing and seeing new cards almost exclusively in with an expansion. And so like the deck building restriction as well is I think one of the things that made it most enjoyable, and that like you have to play some of the new cards, and I don't know, I had a good time with it.
Yeah. I mean, I know the theory crafting streams are not everybody's cup of tea, like viewer-wise. But for those of you guys that, did watch it or have gone back and watched VODs or are watching, some of the content created from it, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope it's got you excited for the new expansion, because I know I'm super excited. I think the theory crafting stream, personally, like I didn't know how to feel about the expansion, but after playing with some of these cards and seeing like just how powerful some of these cards were in a wild context, which is always hard to evaluate when you're watching standard streams, like in the past, got me really excited. Like those mech decks, I was not sold on them until I actually played with Radar Detector and I actually played with Mikey Shark. So it's got me pretty hyped for the new expansion. I think there's a lot of really, really powerful cards. I'm excited, and I think the expansion's gonna be a good one. But we have come to that time, though, where we have to put on record our predictions for here, most powerful cards and our favorite cards for Voyage to the Sunken City, so that we can come back in about 2.5 months and laugh about how exactly wrong we were, and how dumb we were, and what cards we missed. So we're gonna move on and start our ratings here with our top 5 strongest cards. And Roffle, do you want to go ahead and start us off here?
Sure. I'll start with Radar Detector. 2 mana, draw 5. How could it not be bad? According to Meowth, it draws 5 every time, but maybe that's because he built his deck better than me. So I was averaging, I truly was averaging the 3.5, 5, or 3.5, 4 cards every time I played it. But I like even if it's only that, that's still just good enough to be one of the best cards in Hearthstone. Like that, it's pretty silly. Next up, probably no surprise, Mikey Shark. I've been talking a lot about this card. I was actually low on it going into the theory crafting streams, and then I saw it played, and I realized, oh, I was really wrong. So like me outside, getting to play some of these cards really reveals how strong they are, because like Mech Mage wasn't, for me at least, wasn't just farming, goofy decks that like Mark's Fire's Warrior. It was beating good, solid decks, and it's hard to deal with 7 minions on board and 18 damage to your face on turn 3 for any deck. Next one is Aquatic Form. To be honest, I think a lot of people are overrating this card, but it's still a very, very good card. And I don't know, maybe I'm underrating it. It may I think it's maybe comparable to a Kobold Librarian, where if you're playing Warlock, you play Kobold Librarian. If you're playing Druid, you probably play an Aquatic Form. So I think it has similar quiet utility to that type of card as well. And it's also maybe scary in that Chaotha Druid, but I think more importantly, it's just a solid card for Druid, and has some flexibility. Next up is another card we talked about, which is Swordfish, the 3 mana weapon for Rogue. There are a lot of really good pirates available to Rogue in Wild, and 3 mana, 12 damage is a lot. So play 3 mana, deal 12. It'll be good. It's even better with a buck on board. And then finally, Okani, Blade Master Okani. We got early access to this, and it just proved to be a good card. Obviously, it slots into free Shaman, because Shudderwock repeating that, as well as the disruption that that deck already wants to do. Okani kind of amplifies that, but I think it has some potential in other decks as well. I think that you're probably just okay with this in an even Shaman, as well as any other disruption based deck. A tax paladin might consider this. I think that there's just some decent potential for this card, and more importantly, I think I like the precedent that it expects while actually being able to interact with your opponent not on your turn. I think it's a clever way, and I hope that they do more like this, where you get to secretly choose an effect to try and disrupt your opponent.
Yep. I think you'll see a lot of agreement here with some of these strong cards, because I think we're a little bit biased, or maybe confirmed a lot of our opinions because of this theory crafting stream. So maybe we won't be as far off as we have in the past, but I think you'll see a common trend here between Roffles and Corbettgames.
Yeah, I mean, the very first card I had was Radar Detector, so yeah, we don't have to get into that one too much. Next I had Fillet Fighter. Again, I really like the look of Odd Rogue and the aggressive pirate list that we've been talking about, so I really, really like it. Super, super strong, obviously. Handmaiden, 3 mana, draw 3. I think this has a ton of potential. I wouldn't be shocked if Handmaiden didn't make an immediate, huge splash, but I just think the potential upside down the road, and just for the rest of Wild history, just seems kind of extreme. Just incredible amount of card draw in a class that doesn't honestly have that much card draw, but has lots of ways to abuse cards. So it can always piece together combos and mana cheating, but the fact that it does have that insane card draw now in Priest is a big deal. Akani kind of feels like cheating, because we've already seen how good it is, and it does seem very likely that it's going to be one of the top 10 cards at the minimum in the set. Like Rob said, very good in Shaman, but probably deserves to be splashed in a lot of more stuff right now in Wild. I think that the fact that we have been in such a malaise while waiting for the expansion, it's actually kind of stopped refinement a bit with Akani. Like people just haven't been thinking about it or net decking people playing it. So I think Akani is going to be a staple in tons of decks moving forward. And the fifth one that I had was Amalgam of the Deep. Speaking of staple, like I think Amalgam is gonna like I wouldn't be shocked if it just winds up in like 6 meta decks, like like just like 6 competitive decks like separately. It's just it is just so splashable and able to support a variety of archetypes. Like think of it in terms of just like like a harbor scamp. That kind of effect, except it has an extra health. Obviously, it needs to be slightly head on board, but the effect is strong. It supports like tribal archetypes that kind of like feed into each other, like mechs or the pirate quests, or Murlocs in general, which are very snowbally. So I just think it's gonna find a home everywhere. So those are the 5 that really stood out to me.
I think my 5, you guys are all set, so I won't spend a whole lot of time here. Radar Detector, 2 mana, draw 5, good. Aquatic Form, 0 mana, draw a card, good. Handmaiden, 3 mana, draw 3 cards, good. Swordfish, 3 mana, deal 12, good. And Okani, 4 mana, stop your opponent from doing things, good. I think there's no surprise in what I think is good in Hearthstone, and there's a lot of cards that do those things here in Wild. All right, now on to the more exciting stuff, the more controversial stuff. Are favorites allowed to be controversial? Maybe not. Roffle, do you want to tell us what your 5 favorite cards of the new set are?
Sure. I don't think a few of these will be much of a surprise, but especially Hook Dusk right off the rip. Like I just want to steal cards from my opponent so bad. I feel a little bit bad because I got in a mirror match with Dane with Hook Dusk, and I had 9 cards in hand, and because he was playing like a mill version of it, and I played a Hook Tusk. I stole 5 cards from his deck. I only got 1 back to hand. The one that I got to hand was his Hook Tusk, and so I just got to follow, like just spam Hook Tusks against him, and it was it was gross. I think the card's probably not great. I think that like it's another Ticketus, right? Like people are going to get mad at it because it steals their cards, but it doesn't actually do anything. The scary thing is that those cards do go to hand, so that's like it's a better Ticketus, but you are paying more mana for it. I don't know. It's a fun card. Let me have my fun. I'm stealing your cards. Speaking of fun cards, Fires of Zin Ashari. Even though I was struggling to get a win with this on the Theory Crafting stream, I think that there's just still so much fun potential. It's basically like a I don't know, Renounce Warrior type thing, so I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Another card that I was surprised by how fun she was Queen Ashara. I played her in Shaman and was using the mod that shuffles spells into your deck for 1 mana and then draws you cards, and that seemed good. Like I don't think she'll be played in every deck, but like I don't know, like that it was just 1 mana draw cards, and some of them are random spells that you put into your deck. It just seemed like a lot of fun. Next card is Sir Finley C Guide. I think this is actually a pretty high quality card. I think it has maybe some potential cute interaction with like if you get it off a secret passage, you can hang on to some of those cards that or that you aren't able to play or don't want to play. But the real winner is the diamond animation where he's just spinning around on your card perpetually. Like I got mesmerized so many times when he was in my hand or on the board. I'm just like, I just want to watch this animation all day. It's like watching the old TV screensavers bouncing around. It's just like I don't know what it is, but I was mesmerized by it.
Yep. Sir Spinley, right? Sir Spinley.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. I don't know who I read that off of Twitter from, but Sir Spinley is the official name now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then finally, the Leviathan was one of my favorite colossal minions to play. I love the interaction between dredge, then draw a card. You get to see a lot of cards. You get to draw a lot of cards. It has an immediate impact on board, which aside from Gigafin and the Hydra is pretty rare in the. I guess that's not true. There are a lot of the appendages have rush, but it has one of the more noticeable, I guess, impacts on board immediately. And because it's a mech, you're not paying 7 mana for it. I think that most of the time I was paying 5 mana for this card, and that makes it a lot more tolerable. But I think it also just kind of slots right into like a Reno Paladin, which was already showing some pretty good signs of life prior to the expansion, and got a few more good cards this time around.
I also had Finley, just very, very cool. The other ones that I had were Spite Lash, Siren, so that Naga mage card that I was talking about. You guys know how much I enjoy Dark Lair, and you guys know how much I enjoy Degenerate Mage cards. It's actually a match made in heaven. This is perfect for me. Unfortunately, I'm gonna probably have to go for the standard to make it, really worthwhile. But I really had a good time playing with this. I played way too much of this deck, actually. The reveal in the event. I should have moved on quicker. Either way, Amalgam of the Deep is another one that I really, really enjoyed. I just like this card again just because I like how much it supports, all these archetypes that have kind of just needed help. I like that one card like this can just do a whole lot. I think it's just very, very cool, and I'm gonna be happy to see it. I don't think it's ever gonna make me feel bad either, like ever playing against it while being just really ubiquitous at the same time, which is pretty rare. So that's kind of cool. Schooling, it's kind of a funny one. I'm very excited to actually try this in like Evolve Shaman. I think it works really well with the Null as a way of discounting that, and then being able to fill your hand up and then being able to evolve. It also is able to work as corridor creeper fuel. With the little piranhas getting the 3 piranhas that add to your hand, having rush and being able to trade. So that's really cool as well. I just think the swarming piranha thing is pretty funny, so I kind of like this one as well. Priestess Village is the last one here, the 0 mana cheating legendary. Very spicy. I think that a lot of the play pattern is kind of very much up my alley that she promotes. And I think she actually is a little bit overrated overall by what I've seen from players, but I think that whatever deck she ends up in is going to be something that I'm probably going to enjoy.
Yeah. I don't think I will enjoy though. So. Yeah.
No, heavens, no, terribly. No.
Yeah, I guess my favorites are kind of very mixed in with some of my stronger cards here though. I played a lot of 2 very specific decks. I played a lot of Even Shaman and I played a lot of mech decks, and so I'm a little bit biased here of what I've had fun with. So for the mechs, Radar Detector. I know we talked about this being like an insanely powerful card, but God, the rush of 2 mana draw 5 was like you get a little bit of an adrenaline kick, and it feels really good every time. Adrenaline release every time you draw 5, and so just for that, I think I had to put it in my top 5 favorite cards. And then I included Security Automaton as my watch post slot here in our favorite cards. I wasn't sure what the consensus was on this card until we talked about it earlier today, but I haven't seen anybody talking about this card really, where I think this card is just going to be absolutely bonkers and will be one of those cards that you used to be scared of, like Flying Machine in mech decks in the past. I think now you're scared of Security Automaton smacking you for 10 damage on turn 2 or turn 3. And then I had Hook Tusk. Reno Rogue is going to be my Reno Pirate Warrior for this expansion, except it'll be good this time, I promise, I swear. And to fit along with those tribal synergies, gotta fit in Amalgam of the Deep. Like we've been talking about, I think it slots. I don't know just how strong it's going to be, but I think the fact that it pushes so many different decks while not being so obscenely oppressive on the surface. I think it's a super well designed card, even if it is maybe a little bit too strong with everything it does, but it doesn't feel like it's super oppressive. So I think that it's in that great space design wise, and excited to see even stuff like Menagerie Warrior or all these other style of decks that just they don't have good enough support yet gets to run stuff like Amalgam of the Deep, and you get to double dip on the support there. And then last but not least, Anchored Totem. So we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about Shaman. So obviously it has synergy in Even Shaman, but I was messing around with builds using stuff like Schooling, Piranha Swarmer, Token Shaman, using stuff like what is the 3 mana or 4 mana 3/6 elemental that makes sparks when you play an overload card.
Thunderhead?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Thunderhead sounds right. But playing a Token Shaman with Anchor Totem, so instead of summoning 1/1s, you're summoning 3/2s with Rush, that's scale, and then doing stuff with with Vicina and things like that. Was something that I was toying around with during the Theorycraft stream. Could never really get a build of it to work, but I think Aggro Totem has a lot of synergy outside of just even Shaman, so I'm excited to mess around with that. And plus, it's the art on the card is super sweet as well. So yeah, I don't think my top 5 is super spicy when it comes to favorites. No Fires of Zinashari, no Schooling, but these are all cards I'm like super excited for. And like honestly, I could put like 10 or 15 cards here. So just now that these are on record, we can come back to these and judge ourselves in 2 months.
Which card do you think is the most likely to be the deck of chaos of our guesses?
Ooh, so that would be the strongest. I don't know. I feel like we played it pretty safe this time, especially considering we've already played with most of the cards that we've chosen, at least for me personally. So, I don't know. The only card I didn't play was Aquatic Form, and I can't see that being that bad. It's a 0-mana card.
I think there's always a chance that if just Mech Paladin just doesn't hit, that we kind of look a little stupid all having it like as our first mentioned thing. But I mean
these weren't.
It's still gonna be insane in that archetype, so it's kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Sir Finley, right? I know he has a lot of cute interactions, but I think people are probably gonna put him in a lot more decks than he probably belongs in. And it'll make the card look not very impressive. So that might be my candidate. But I think with people watching like the Theorycraft stream, I don't know if there's like a really super overrated card. Obviously, like if we knew it, we wouldn't rate it. But
yeah.
If maybe it's Amalgam. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Amalgam of the Deep. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see in 2 months. That was a weird question. Because now I'm just double guessing everything that I've said. Yeah, thanks. Regardless, I hope everybody enjoyed kind of our recap here and is looking forward to the release of Voyage to the Sunken City tomorrow. Super excited for this. And yeah, you guys, I'm assuming you guys are both going to be streaming on Tuesday on release, or I guess Wednesday for Corb. Excited for the new expansion, obviously.
Yep. Yeah, I plan to go live pretty much right as the expansion drops, as usual. So, very much looking forward to that. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to play or think about playing without these fun new cards because, like, again, it was just a blast to get early access and be able to play them. I've got like, I don't know, double-digit decks lined up and ready to go that I just can't wait to play, and I just need Tuesday to come so that I can play them.
Yeah, I mean, I love new stuff. I mean, I think like realistically, the set, well, not being like the most powerful, I think, or not the most suited for Wild. I think that a lot of the mechanics and a lot of the design is really, really cool in general. And I really like the flavor. I was kind of talking about this on stream where it's probably my favorite one since I think Scholarman's. And what I found out is I just want to go on a Hearthstone Disney adventure, whether it's like the Harry Potter like School of Magic or whether it's Under the Sea and to Atlantis. I just want that. That's just like I'm a sucker for this. So I really, really like everything and coming from the set. And so yeah, of course I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
All right, so why don't you guys let them know where they can find you and your content regarding the new expansion?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Roffle and Instagram and Twitter at RoffleHS.
And you can find me on Twitch at Corbett. Going through a little bit of a rebrand here. So we dropped the games except on Twitter, where you can still find me at Corbettgames, but that's Corbett on Twitch. And yeah, thank you guys very much for listening and watching.
I am not undergoing any sort of rebrand. You guys can find me at Get Me Out like you have for the past few years on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Appreciate everybody for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the review of everything, the reversions, new cards, decks, things like that. And hope you guys are all looking forward to the brand new expansion. Hope you guys enjoy, and we will see you guys again next week to talk about first impressions of the Voyage to the Sunken City Wild meta. You guys take care, and we'll see you guys next time. Later.